Welcome to the August 19th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I am President Catherine Staub. I am so glad I could do a better job of bell ringing than Sean Mullen. Yeah, I saw Sean at another event last Thursday, and the only thing he said to me was, "Hey, you need some lessons." No. No shade on the president. We are delighted to have you here today. Thank you very much for joining, whether you're in person or watching on video a little bit later. You saw I have my snazzy Rotary mask. So I started wearing that when I'm not eating or drinking or speaking to you from the podium. The Ruan Center Property Management is strongly encouraging mask wearing, especially when entering or exiting the building and riding the elevator. If you heard the mayor's presentation last week, he underscored some reasons for that as well. But it's completely up to you, each of you as individuals. We've also had a few concerns expressed about the greeting, that some people have gone back wholeheartedly to handshaking and hugging, and other people aren't yet comfortable with that, that they feel like uncomfortable turning somebody down. So I would respectfully request that everybody do a friendly wave, and if you're wearing a mask, smile with your eyes. Anyway, and there's also hand sanitizer at each table and on the badge table and on the buffet line. We want everybody here to have a good time, to feel welcome and comfortable, and to remain in good health. So now I would like to welcome Sue Woody and thank her for responding to my call for people to sign up to do our moment of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm so excited to be here today because this is such an important topic that John and Pamela are going to discuss. And my words of inspiration came to me from our financial analyst when I was just asking for a small percentage increase in my budget. And he said, "Sue, even a small percentage of a big number is still a big number." So I've applied that to so many different things in my life, and I'm applying it to John and Pamela's presentation today. Because we as Americans live in the land of plenty, and we have so much, and we have so much stuff. And it's affecting our world, it's affecting our lives, it's affecting our future and the future of our kids. And I'm sure you all saw the UN scientific report that came out, and our planet is getting warmer. And so how am I applying this numbers vision to what we're talking about today? And that it's not too late. There is so much that we can do together. And if we all do just a little bit, whether that's not using plastic bottles, whether that's, shameless plug, using the library instead of buying books and putting them on your shelves where they sit for 20 years and no one is reading them. Those are some things that we all can do. Big things, little things. There's so many. So think of that even a little bit. If we all do it, we'll all add up to a big thing. So thank you for this conversation, and I can't wait to learn more. And if you'd like to learn more, there's always the life-changing magic of tidying up, and we all know Marie Kondo, and there's so many books. All you need is less. This is one of my favorite ones. So I'm going to apply the things I'm going to learn today, and if we all do, we'll be in a good spot. So let's go ahead with the, oh, look at that. I thought it was going to be the flag, but it's Rosie Reader. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much. Look at that beautiful Rotary Rosie Reader van. Not easy to say, but boy, it's really important. And that's even our new upgraded Rosie Reader costume, our mascot. So we were able to break them both out for the first time for the Iowa State Fair Parade. Ooh, it was steamy, but we got a lot of great reception and a lot of waves and cheer from it. And I do want to just point out the logo in the back. So it's Rotary on both sides and the logo on the back. And so we're really looking forward to nonprofits and schools and places opening up this fall. We have to wait and see what's going to happen a little bit, and we'll be patient so we can get out there so that people can come to the library as well. So thank you for that. And now I bet there's a flag. Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test.
Is the truth, is fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
No way.
No way.
That way.
Thank you so much, Sue. We are very excited to see the Rotary Band in action in our community. As Sue mentioned, the band is a result of receiving a $40,000 community grant from our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation. The grant application for this year is now available on our website. It is due by September 8th. And your contributions to our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation make all of these transformative gifts possible. So we thank you all for your continued donations. And I now invite Kent Zimmerman to the podium to introduce our program for the day. Kent?
Just what I need. It's always interesting when you dine with a Rotary person who you really don't know other than his name. And then you meet his wife, and you get a whole different sense of the experience that they have all gone through. So some of my remarks today are actually designed to fill in the blanks of a member that you probably know by name, but you may not know a whole lot about him. At least that's what always happens to me when I'm in Rotary. So let me begin. John and Pamela Stark join us to share their downsizing adventure. Please underscore the word adventure. I am sure many of you are already involved in such tasks. I know I am. But I also suspect there are a lot of you who are trying to avoid it. I mean, that's the normal reaction that we always get. When you get to a certain age and we want to get less involved with things, it's like, okay, how do you get rid of this? How do you get rid of that? Whatever. All right? So a little background on the Starks. John Stark is a native, Des Moines native with a bachelor's and master's degree from Drake. His 21-year career in the Air Force as an intelligence officer, active duty and reserves, had him living and working around the globe in fighter weapons, human intelligence, counter-narcotics, and counter-terror. That would probably be an interesting program as well, by the way. In 2004, John became a realtor and says he's been blessed with two careers he loves and still loves. Pamela Stark was raised by diplomats and spent her formative years in Mexico City and Port-au-Prince, Haiti, only learning English in grade school. She is also a Drake graduate and a CPA. See some things in common here, guys? All right. Pamela has worked at Nationwide Agribusiness as a senior data analyst for 15 years and is a member of FarmHer, H-E-R, F-A-R-M-H-E-R, part of Nationwide's diversity and inclusion groups. She is instrumental in the grain bin safety initiative to prevent farm-related deaths and accidents, I'm sure. So when I read that, that was what they sent me, all right? I asked John for some more. Some of you in this room may remember an old radio columnist by the name of Paul Harvey. And he, as some of you may also remember, he always closed his remarks with, "And now you know the rest of the story." So I went to John for part of the rest of the story. The Starks share Drake, 1985, and global experience in common. They met at the Walnut Creek Y through their 5-year-old daughters who were playmates in the kids' room while the two single adults did aerobics. All right? Kind of a fun way of meeting. And here's how it happened. One day, John's daughter, Bridget, told him that Frances, I believe is Pamela's daughter, all right, needs a dad. All right, how many times have you ever had a fix-up done by 2 5-year-olds, right? The rest is history. John has 1 daughter, Pamela has 3. Together they had 1 of their own. And they've now been married 36 years, have 5 adult kids between them, and a load of grandkids. Okay, how big is the load?
8 or 10, which is it?
Okay, 10. We'll go with the big figure, 10.
There's been some adoptions here and there.
Yeah, cool story. As some of you know, John was diagnosed with cancer in December of 2019. This came at a time when they were discussing downsizing. So why not add surgery, radiation, chemotherapy to the downsizing conversation? That would really be a tough job. Cancer shook them to the core, they described. However, it also made them a stronger couple. They learned to cherish quality time, have more patience with each other as they watched the side effects take a toll. John says he grew to love Pamela even more. Her strength and support were inspiring, and I understand that. Together they enjoy reading everything they can put their hands on. They enjoy cooking together, drinking wine together, I'm sure. All right, watching Formula One racing, the Minnesota Vikings, singing along to the oldies, binge watching oddball TV shows, and photography. Pamela is a plantaholic. John plays 5 guitars, all right, and loves it, I think. And try it once, right? So now, fellow Rotarians, you know some of the rest of the story. Please welcome John and Pamela to our Rotary Speakers podium.
Wow, if you ever get to do this, I shouldn't say have to, should I? If you ever get to do this, have Kent write your intro. I want to be that guy when he grows up, and I sure hope I get to meet this girl. Geez, thank you, Kent. And Sue, you pretty much took our presentation.
Well, sorry.
Whoops, got this disinfectant. So today, I do have notes. The reason I have notes is this is kind of an iceberg thing. We're going to talk about the tip of the iceberg, and hopefully you will have plenty of questions that can explore the other parts of the iceberg. Let me see if I can make the clicker work. Yeah. Oh, look at that. I did it. So, is downsizing right-sizing or what? Well, it depends on you, but we're going to look at what we did right, which was far exceeded by what we failed to do correctly. And so those of you that might be thinking of this or know someone who is, you would be able to help them not be us. It's an individual decision, and your reasons are yours alone, and whatever they are valid. And what we did discover right away in this home, 25 years, 3,000 square feet, is that your crap will fill the exact level of space that you give it. And as I look out on my friends, I see Chris, and I think, how much crap can you fit in your RV? It's a lot different, yeah, as you roam the country. But the most important thing is you need a why. You've got to have a why to downsize, a why to make a change. And business people, salespeople, people in nonprofits, no matter what, your person or your organization, find your why is a big deal, and being told to speak more in the microphone. Is that better for everybody? Yeah. Okay. Usually I'm told to shut the hell up. She's right here. So Pamela, what kind of things could you talk about? Getting your why, finding your why, and speaking in the microphone.
I will speak in the microphone. I'm shorter than you are, so bring it down. Our why was, why are we cleaning all of that space? Because it would take me a whole day, and that would be half of the weekend, and then I was too exhausted to do anything. So our why was, let's reduce the amount of work that we're having to do to maintain the home. And there's always this stuff. We realize that we have way too much stuff, because as John pointed out, you take the space you have available. I remember when I was an auditor for the state, whatever agency we were auditing, sometimes they'd give us a big table, sometimes they'd give us a little table. We would take over whatever space they gave us. And we would joke about it, but it's true, you do. So for us, it was, how do we get more free time so that we can actually enjoy each other's company rather than slaving over the house and then having the responsibility of all that stuff, because with a lot of objects or possessions or wealth comes responsibility, and we wanted to reduce that.
So, and by the way, I should point out, Ken commented we have 5 kids, and our youngest one is what, 35 or something?
35.
35, I did it. And he's been gone for a long, long time, so it's just been the 2 of us rattling around in that big old house. And so what I'm gonna do every now and again is give you guys the pro tips. Because what I'm seeing is that people are downsizing for whatever reasons they've got, and it's mostly because our space is too big, right? Duh. But it, it could be that the kids are gone, like in our case. It could be that you're thinking about slowing down. Maybe you are thinking about or planning to retire, or you are currently retired. But you want to minimize and simplify things. And as Pamela just said, it might even be a financial reason. Sorry. It might even be a financial reason. In which you want to access the equity of your home and do something else with that. Again, fund retirement, fund vacations, fund your RV to go travel the world. I'm so excited to see Chris here. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. I'm very happy. So anyway, whatever you want to do, but here's the pro tips. Number 1, write the darn plan down. As I talked earlier, you've got to have a why. And we did this. This was a John and Pamela fix. Hooray for us. We started a notebook in which we would write down whatever it was we were thinking of, and we would go get that information, we'd get that question answered, or we would just have a plan. One of the plans we would do quite often is we would say, this Saturday, let's go to this room and do this thing. Now this is a long-term thing for us, and she's going to talk a little bit about the timing of stuff later on, but you'll see that this didn't happen over a season. It didn't happen over a month. It took quite a bit longer than that. And part of that was self-driven, and part of it was that friggin' cancer that ruined a lot of our plans. But the nice thing is that a written down plan will hold you accountable even to yourself. I recommend talking to other people about it, because then when you have lunch with them or you go to the office, and they will say, how's the downsizing coming? How's the packing coming? You guys ready to kill each other yet? And the way we fixed that was one of us went to the basement and the other one of us went upstairs and we did our own thing. Excuse me. But the big takeaway, your plan is going to guide everything else. The how, the when, your why does all that. Why are we going to move? And then that will tell you when are we going to move, and to where we're going to move. So the next thing about downsizing, I will tell you all that I have a YouTube channel for my business, and I did this section on downsizing, did a video, and it occurred to me if I interviewed Pamela, that would bring home the point even more. What I didn't know was that she was going to cry when we talked about this. She said she's not going to cry today, but it's an emotional process. It's a really big deal when you look at a space you've been in for a long time. You're going to be sad, you're going to be excited, you're going to think like you failed because I have to give something up, and I want to remind you, you're not giving up anything. You're still going to have the experiences that you had. You're still going to have the memories that you had. But, I should have brought it, but I have a coffee mug that I bought, I know, it drives you nuts, from the helicopter provider in Rhode Island when I took a helicopter tour of Rhode Island 10 plus years ago. It has never seen a drop of coffee, but I have moved that damn thing. I've got a coffee cup that's 30 years old from my basic training days. It's never had a drop of coffee in it. Why? I still remember those things as clear as a bell. I don't look at the coffee mugs. I actually happen to know that they are. They're on the third shelf behind something.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, your emotions are going to be valid, and they all deserve your attention, right? So, you're not losing the memories and experiences, you're just losing the stuff. It's easy for me because I'm a guy. Let's have Pamela talk about the emotional part and see if you can do it without emotions.
Oh, shut up. We started talking about this a couple of years before we actually did it, because I needed to be convinced to move out of that big house that she showed a picture of. We raised our kids there. See, here you go. The youngest played his saxophones and snare drum for hours and hours in that home. Our 2 daughters unfortunately had failing marriages, and at times they came with their babies or small children and lived with us for a couple months. And I'd forgotten your mom stayed with us after her open heart surgery for a couple months recuperating. So there were a lot of bittersweet memories and a lot of really fun fond memories that we had in that home. And I wasn't willing to give it up because the house represented those memories. So it took me a while to disengage from that and realize that it also had all this stuff and responsibility and obligation. So about December, late 2018 is about when we decided, okay, 2019 is going to be the year that we sell the house and move to something else. You'd shown me some smaller homes and townhomes, and I got excited about it. And then we got his diagnosis.
It's your words. You wrote this stuff.
I know, there's words here. I have issues with words sometimes too. Anyway, but that didn't deter us because we had made the decision that we needed to downsize. And quite frankly, it was probably more important now. I think the kids thought we were a little fatso for doing that, but that was their problem, not ours. So we just started approaching things slowly and surely. We were delayed some because of his surgery, and then there were days when I had to do more heavy lifting because he was not well or in pain or recovering from immunotherapy, which wiped him out. The radiation exhausted him. However, his scans are all clear yet so far, so knock on wood. Stay that way. So, we did do a lot of little trips down memory lane as we went into different rooms and cleared out closets, cleared out boxes, and all that. And you have those memory lanes that you go down, and they're bittersweet in some cases, and in some cases you find something, and, like coffee mugs or other things, and you go, why? Why do I have this? Because we had the room. That's why we had it.
First things first. Thank you. I know that's not easy.
Oh, and I had read the Marie Kondo book that Sue mentioned, and it was a big help because if this thing doesn't bring you joy or you're not using it, get rid of it.
And I started reading the Marie Kondo book and there were no pictures, and so I just gave it up. I want to address something, kind of the cancer in the room, is that when that happened, and we talked about this, it's like we were watching television one night, and as I was flipping through the channels and all, we had just switched over from cable, satellite TV to YouTube TV. It's a little bit of a mess because there's no owners, man. You just got to figure this crap out by yourself, right? And I'm going through it, and I started crying. Not sobbing, but crying. She said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "You don't know how to work the TV. When I die, you're not going to know how to turn on the TV."
I do.
And she knows now because she's smart. She said, "Well, when you die." But honest to gosh, that really crossed our minds. It's like, if we don't get out of here, and if this goes south on me, it's all on her. And I did not want that to be my legacy. I know it sounds a little maudlin and all that. I don't want anybody to say, "Oh my gosh, it's so sad," because it really isn't. It's practical. We're all going to die, right? But more importantly, I felt an obligation to her to not let this happen. Now, the surgeon said he got it all. The radiation guy said there isn't anything there. We're going to do it anyway because you met the deductible. And I'm not kidding. That's what he said. He said, "You really don't need radiation, but it looks like you met your deductible, so there's no harm." And then the oncologist, he was very excited for me when I used the F word and said cancer picked the wrong guy to pick on. And so all that was good, and after a few months after surgery, we were feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't an onerous, "Oh my God, this is always over our head." But the treatments do, in fact, take it out of you, and that means you're going to need to get some help. So, again, the pro tips thing, there it comes. First off, talk about it. I am not a talker about his feelings guy, especially to her, because I don't want to seem weak. I don't know if it's a generational thing. Maybe our son sits around and talks about his feelings and gazes at his navel all day long with his girlfriend. I don't do that. So talk about them. Rub some dirt on them, but make your feelings known. And if it's a friend or even a therapist, you need to talk about it. Because again, sadness, grief, sense of loss, sense of failure, they all accompany some of this downsizing stuff, Holy crap, why did I buy that? I was a fool. I also think that when it comes time to talk about your feelings, you need a trusted friend or associate to tell you that you no longer need your high school science book. because that is in your basement somewhere, I guarantee you. But focus on your gains and not the perceived losses that you might have. The gains, you're gonna have freedom, you're gonna have some time, you're gonna have maybe even some more money. And here's a weird one that we didn't expect, but it's an emotional one. You're gonna feel a sense of calm because you're not living in a cluttered space anymore. Sue, I don't know, and maybe you know Pamela, but is that in the book, the Marie Kondo book?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I read it there and I stole it. It probably embedded it there. But you know, when you're not surrounded by junk, it's that. As far as the physical part, it's get help. I think we're relatively healthy, but at the same time, I didn't say this, we're both in our 60s, and so it's like, you know what? There are people that need jobs, and they're more than willing to lift your crap. So call them up. We use college hunks hauling junk, and 2 men in a truck, and they both had people that were perfectly willing to help us.
Very strong.
They are, and they work very quickly. But you know, the other thing on the pro tip slide, I hope it's there, is to start with the easy stuff first. And that can also mean the non-emotional spaces. So your garage or your basement. It was, believe it or not, I know the date, December 10th of 2018, when I went down into the basement. It was right before the diagnosis. I had just been going to doctors and didn't know anything yet. And on the 18th, I spent the whole day in the basement, opening up boxes, looking in it, writing down what was in it, and then labeling the box. There were a minimum of 75 boxes down there in an unfinished basement of things that only had been moved 25 years previous from our other home that we were in for 4 or 5 years, and possibly from the home before that. So there were things that were probably 30 to 35 years of unopened boxes in there, if you can imagine that. So I wrote down what was in each and every box, and I dated it on there, and that's the main reason I know that is because my office is now in the basement, and part of our basement is storage, and in that storage are still some of those ink boxes with the date of December 10th, 2018 written in red Sharpie. So the downsizing is actually more than boxes. You wrote the plan, now you're going to implement it. Folks, this is where it gets to be a little bit of an iceberg. We're going to go high level over stuff, and hopefully there's Q&As and all that. But you're going to use a checklist for this. And you might be saying, but John, I don't have a checklist. Au contraire. I made a checklist for you. It's out by the badge table. Yeah, au contraire, that's my third language English speaker. She does this to me all the time. But there is a checklist that I made for you that is out by the badge table. Again, it is an iceberg. It's kind of one of those things where one question generates 5 more. But that's good. You've got a guideline now. And on the other side, just because I don't like one-side printing, I printed off a moving preparation guide. So 4 weeks out for this, 6 weeks out, do that. But anyway, take one of those. If we do happen to run out, then Kitty can probably send it a PDF. But Pamela, you're up.
I'm up. Oops, I got any more. Hi. My tips, practical ones, because I'm a practical person in the house. Get a tape gun. You know those big things that go. Was my best friend for a long time. And several markers, Sharpie markers, because you need to label your boxes. Some of those boxes he referred to just say photos or Jackie stuff, was my late mother. Doesn't tell us what it is. It's very vague. You need to get a little more detailed as you go through and box things up, especially if there are things you're going to take with you wherever you end up moving, because the movers aren't going to know what kitchen means. You're not going to know what kitchen means. Is it utensils, whatever it might be. Be a little more detailed. That was a mistake we made.
Coffee mugs.
Coffee mugs. Dozens and dozens of coffee mugs. And use small boxes. We made a mistake on a few things of getting a big box, because you think a big box, like when we're in it, right? It gets too heavy. And when I spoke of heavy lifting, that meant me schlepping these boxes across the room, and they're heavy, and I'm not very heavy myself, so it's a little challenging. Like he said, start with the less emotional areas. Closets can be closets of rooms that you don't use. Like I went into the kids' linen closet, bathroom that's never used, dozens of towels. Why? Because it was a linen closet. That was it. So, bagged them up and took them to an animal rescue place. They were delighted. So there's things that are quick and easy like that, and it's not emotional, so you can get it done. But then it gives you that feeling of accomplishment. You finished something, so then it spurs you on to do, oh, what else can I do? What other closet can I do? And then you get to the emotional things, which are the photographs, the sentimental items, other things that you use every day, and then you decide how many of these things do you need. Are you going to use it again? We discovered that. We had things that we had never used or had not used in a long time, move them out. There are so many charities and nonprofits in this city that want and need things. The free store helps set up women for their escaping of used households, set them up with housekeeping things. They want furniture. They need basic household things. We gave some things to our church that they needed. We did sell a few things, some furniture items, some bigger pieces, price them to sell. This is not a way to get rich. This is a way to move your excess stuff out. Because we needed to downsize probably 50% of our possessions easily, because we were going to shrink that much of our living space. We're still downsizing. We've lived in our townhome for, close to 18 months, if not more, and we were still going through some boxes that we didn't get finished with, or other things that we packed just in case. Do we? Maybe, yes, no. And so we're still in the process of downsizing. Books was the bane of our existence. My mother was a librarian. Books are your friends. You treat them with love and you cherish them. But realistically, how many of you will really read that book that you read last year? No one rereads their books, or hardly anyone. So donate them to a library, give them to a thrift shop. There's those little free libraries all over town. We had one in our front yard. Fill them up. Go around and fill them up. Somebody wants to read that book. Somebody needs that couch. Somebody needs that extra set of pots and pans or whatever it might be. But the thing is it's a lifestyle. Downsizing, you don't end. It doesn't end when you move. It continues. Because we all get new things, well then something else has to go out to take its place. So you're replacing, you're not adding once you downsize. So there's my tips.
You know, one more thing about boxing and packing is get a storage unit. When we did that, we then moved shelving into the storage unit so that your boxes aren't like on top of each other, and you basically double the size of your storage unit. But don't succumb, and we did this right, to a long-term contract with them. If it goes out of sight, it is out of your mind. If it's out of your mind, you will keep it. The whole goal here is not to keep it. Wherever it might be, you want to get rid of your stuff, the stuff you don't use. Here's a problem, though, with downsizing. We donate a lot of stuff to Many Hands for Haiti. That's Pamela's affinity for that country. And one day we were there, and of course I started shopping after I gave away a bunch of crap. And I found this very shirt. It's an L.O. Bean Oxford. It had never been worn. It was my exact size. It was only $4. And I was putting it on today going, oh, this is a perfect example. We gave a whole bunch of clothing away to Many Hands for Haiti, and I walked out with clothing from Many Hands for Haiti. So she immediately then said, get rid of 3 things. So I had to go to my closet and find 3 other shirts to get rid of that went right back to Many Hands for Haiti. So right now, if you do a storage unit and do the long-term contract, you're going to end up with Grandma's China sitting in a boxing walkie for many months to come. I've got dozens and dozens of DVDs to this day that I have not looked at in years. And so I need to take those, maybe half-price books, maybe Many Hands, and just plain and simply get rid of them. Which, you know, brings us really now, if the clicker's working, which it is. Oh, one more, back. There we go. And that's what your kids really want. As I look out here, you know, with some exceptions, the kids, you know, we've all got adult kids. And AARP has done 2 recent surveys on what your children want. And what's really interesting about those surveys, they are diametrically 180 degrees opposed from each other. So it tells me that they're truthful. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a list of what the kids want as you look at our beautiful children and what kids do and don't want. So what they want is they do actually want some of their toys from when they were growing up, but not many of them. Every single thing I say, they don't want many, but they want some of their old toys. We tried to give away the kids' Cabbage Patch dolls. Who remembers those? And 1 out of 5 wanted it. That means we are still sitting on 4 other Cabbage Patch dolls. Yeah, who knows? They're still in a box. They want your old photographs. They want the ones that they're in, but they don't want many of them. We purchased a Kodak Digitizer for negatives because that's the generation we're from.
Yeah.
And this Digitizer will read the negative and turn it into a JPEG file for you. The kids love that because I can send them a thumb drive with 150 pictures on it. But one thing they don't want is they don't want an unsolicited box of your stuff. They want to know very, very specific, I have got this alarm clock that was in your dorm room at UNI. Would you like it, Francis? And if she says no, that's the final answer. But the other key to giving family members things is if she says yes, the next word out of your mouth needs to be when.
When are you coming?
Yes, when. And if it's a shipping problem, we had that with the rocking chair, remember? Everybody wanted this damn rocking chair that had been in the family for years and years and years, and Pamela had rocked all the kids in this chair. And the Rhode Island one wanted it. It's like, call the shipping company and find out how much, Francis, because that one's on you. We're not doing this to buy more crap for you.
It's at the church now.
Yeah, the church has it. We told her, God will love you if you let us give this to the church. So anyway, this is kind of rude, but here's what the kids do want. I think it's rude. They want assets. They want your money. They want your house. They want your car. And they want your jewelry. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, fine, but you have to be so crass. We get that. But you know what? Like I said, they don't want the boxes of your stuff. And if they don't guilt trip them. Fran, Bridget, do you want the Cabbage Patch Kid? No, thanks. Well, that was your favorite doll when you were. That's the worst dumb thing you can say to them because they'll feel terrible about it. So anyway, they're making their own family memories, and they only need so many of yours, of ours. So to wrap up my section, and Pamela will finish this off, downsizing was exactly what we needed. The timing may have sucked, but it actually was still good. It distracted us, the illness and all that stuff. But now we feel like we've got a whole lot less stress, a real nice life that we're living. The only thing that we're anxious for now is to decide when we're actually going to pull a plug and do the retirement thing, but I think that this was an excellent first step. And we talked as recently as a couple of days ago, not related to this chat, but should we get rid of even more? And maybe when we do retire, we'll go one step further down for size. So it is an ongoing process. So wrap it up.
All right. We do feel a lot more light-footed, shall I say. Freedom. It's refreshing because we happen to move into a brand new townhome, so that is even more refreshing because everything is brand new, clean and shiny. But even if you move into an existing property or get an apartment, it's new to you. So it's kind of fun because you get to redecorate, you get to, after you move in, you cull out more stuff, and so then you get that freedom, feeling of freedom all over again. So anyway, it was worth it, definitely worth it. And so we're hoping that this was interesting and informative, perhaps entertaining, who knows. And we're up for questions or conversation later anytime, and his little checklist doohickey is out on the table. And somewhere is a picture of our townhome.
Yeah.
There we go. We have half of that. We don't have
And our cell phones are there if you think of something later, but we're ready for your questions if you're ready to ask them. Anybody at all? Anybody other than Bob Federal? Yeah, Bob.
Pamela, I'm curious, now that you've spent more time with John, do you miss cleaning that 3,000 square foot home on the weekends?
No.
The question was, does she miss cleaning the 3,000 square foot home on the
It's
weekends?
supposed to ask.
And the answer is definitely not. That was, and I don't miss mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
It gives me a lot of Jason.
So I'm actually still more in the upsizing part.
Want some of my
Probably
stuff?
move to a bigger space and fill with more stuff. But we do have a lot of things that we haven't touched since we moved. Have you guys compiled any sort of list? I know you mentioned many hands for 80, but of places to go, because I struggle with getting rid of things that I think someone else can use, because I don't want to fill a landfill with, we don't use a DVD player, but we have 4 of them.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Thank you. So Jason asked if we have a list of charities. The answer is no, but I actually thought of that, so I'll follow up with that because it's a great idea to save people time. Jason, if you didn't know, is also a realtor with RE/MAX, and so we run into people who are doing this all the time, which is what keyed me into thinking about, I just did some of this right and I screwed some of it up. How can I help somebody not screw it up? So Gloria, you all know Gloria? Whose last name I always forget.
Great.
Thank you, Gloria Gray. I knew it was simple too. She volunteers at what's called the Free Store. This is a real quiet charity in Des Moines where the Free Store will take your furniture and kitchen utensils and things. And they do that, but not toys and not clothes.
No thought.
They're very quiet about it because what they do is they support families of abuse and trauma who suddenly find themselves out on the street and need to set up an apartment or a home like right now. And so these families can go in after hours quietly and say, I need that bedroom set, I need that dresser, all of that kitchen stuff, 10 plates, etc. And so we did that a lot, and then many hands for Haiti. But yeah, I'll do that follow-up. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Your local school, the social worker will know what kids need what and what families need what. And we've gotten rid of a lot of good furniture that way to a good place, and we know that they're needed.
Yeah, and Bob's talking about social workers and the idea that they would have families in the refugee resettlements. Those of you that are churchy people, there's always somebody at your church that's working with some kind of family in need, and I would highly recommend it. You know, we all, if we're in Rotary, I'll just say this, we have all been blessed with abundance. And we felt very strongly about sharing that abundance. And, you know, I didn't want some strange goofball showing up at my house from Craigslist and going, oh, you want 50 cents for that cup? I'll give you 10. That's not what I wanted to do with my time. So that's why we were giving a lot of things away. Oh, hey.
What are your thoughts on things like china, crystal, silver, cut glass, things that you think have value that nobody wants?
Tell Dave how much value our china and crystal
Yeah.
have on eBay.
He's asking about the value of your china and crystal and all that. I had 3 sets of antique china. I still have 2 sets of antique china and 1 set of crystal or baccarat, whatever. Fancy crystal, it was my grandmother's. The less meaningful set that I somehow inherited, I gave to many hands, and it's probably on a place setting there looking very pretty. The other 2 are very old. They are probably 100 years old, and they do have value on the used china market, but I can't seem to get anyone in Des Moines to take them. Probably because I called right at the pandemic time, and that's probably not a good time to call to try and get it. But there are antique dealers and antique consigners that do look at china and do find ways to sell it. But yeah, that is a challenge. It really is, because our kids don't want it, and I don't know what to do with it. It's not, I can't throw it away because it's got value and it's pretty, and it's probably not something that should go to a thrift shop, because how are they going to price it? You know, so it's a conundrum. It really is. There are websites I have seen that you can send pictures or samples of your china to them. There's a couple places in Florida that I found online that will offer you a price on those items because they have a market worldwide or nationwide for it, but I have not pursued any of those. But yeah, it's a challenge. That one is.
And Dave, there's a glut of this stuff out there because so many of us got it because that was the thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, 40, 30 years ago when you got married, you asked for a set of china and everybody brought you a place setting. But, you know, our Gen Zs, Xs, and Millennials, they don't want that stuff. You know, they're content with the 79-cent plate from IKEA, as am I. But, you know, that china that we have, I don't think we've ever used any of it in our 36 years of wedded bliss.
We have 2 plates on.
We have 2 plates out, she says, to use. So I think I'm looking at my clock. One more question if there is one, and if not, wait till you see the book they gave me to sign, gang. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you so much, John and Pamela. That was wonderful. Great presentation, really practical, helpful. And John, we're glad you're a member of Rotary Club of Des Moines. We are donating the book, and I promised I would say this is no reflection on our speakers today. None, not even John. None. We are donating the book, Who is Benedict Arnold, to the Downtown School Library in your honor. And John has inscribed some words for the kids. I think read everything which,
That was what I
you know,
decided.
that was what
Don't
he
be
decided
Benedict was my first choice.
appropriate for who was Benedict Arnold. Anyway, our upcoming meetings, next week, August 26th, we have Alicia Knapp with BHE Renewables, and September 2nd, Rotary District Governor 6000 Alcoff will be with us, and then on September 9th, Christine Lauritzen-Sand with the Lauritzen Group will join us. So if you know somebody who would be interested in one of those, I encourage you to bring a prospective Rotarian with you. I want to thank all of you for being with us today and for being part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm not going to do it so loud. My ears don't like that. We are adjourned.